service.
Sure. April 21, 1941, and we continue with Harold's pictures here.
This is one of my prize shots for the simple reason, number one, I really like the American type locomotive, and I snapped this one with the rods down, which is the best way to have your hair combed as far as locomotive goes. And this was afternoon, I'd say somewhere around I'd say 5 o'clock.
Okay.
And it could be the one that's going to go in and pick up some passengers, but I don't know where the cars are.
Okay. Go back and tell us what that expression means, Harold, with rods down.
The connecting rod on the two driving wheels, they like to see it down near the track, and the driving rod reaches up to the cylinder.
It makes it look more symmetrical.
Yeah,
it has a better look to it.
Yeah.
Okay.
More balanced.
It's like you got your necktie on.
Right.
Yeah.
Not crooked.
Okay. Beverly, Mass, here between the Gloucester Branch Junction and Elliott Street, the Newburyport Freight.
Yeah, this is probably looking in the river to the right, the Bass River, and this this was an early morning photo that you had to get because the Newburyport Freight usually barreled through early in the morning, and this happened to be around 7 a.m., April 29, 1941, and the locomotive was number 1388, a Mogul, and she was doing a little firing at the time, so it made it kind of interesting with the smoke and the steam coming out.
Right, and you were just about to graduate high school here. I see the date April 28 or 9, 1941.
Yes, yeah.
Okay. Again, as we move along here, briskly, Harold taking water at the depot, May 3, 1941.
Yeah, this is kind of interesting. This is an American-type locomotive, 440. And what was unique about this particular one, it had been rebuilt in the shop where the slide valves were replaced with a piston-type valve, which is most of the older locomotives had piston-type valves rather than the slide valve. And this kind of looked out of sorts after seeing so many slide valve locomotives of the earlier type. To see a piston valve one is kind of like a fish out of water.
Yeah. And what are we looking at in the background here, the buildings, just for curiosity's sake?
Well, it's hard to see here, but I'm sure it's either Angie's or the paper.
The infamous Angie's again.
I just had to get him to say that.
That's right.
One more time.
Well, that's right.
They might open up again with this advertising.
How much water, Harold, would they take on?
I don't know the actual gallons on it, but the way they figured, they take on enough until it spills over.
Yeah.
I would think those small Americans would hold about 5,000 gallons.
Okay.
That would seem reasonable.
All right. We're at the Bass River, Harold, May 3, 1941.
Yeah, this is another one. I couldn't get the rods down in this, but it's about the same one that I took earlier, and it's about 5 o'clock in the afternoon. The sun was just right, you know, to take a good locomotive picture, and so I tended to lean towards the better suns and better photography.
The firemen and engineer, I presume, knew their picture was being taken.
Right,
Looks like they're looking right at you here.
I'm not too sure I could identify him.
Okay, we're at Beverly Depot, 1941, July 20th. You've had your graduation exercises, Harold, out of high school?
Yeah.
Looking to get into mischief at this point in time?
Well, I still had the camera going, I guess. This is an afternoon shot. And this is, once again, a Mogul type heading north.
Okay.
I might add that that's 2 days before I was born. So, I was with you in spirit, Harold.
Yeah, I know. It must have been something rubbed off.
Yeah.
You're just talking to a bunch of young fellas here. You have to keep that in mind as we go on here. Next, again, these are all Mr. Boothroyd's photographs here, July 26, 41.
And this is another Pacific that stopped at Beverly and pick up passengers. Rod's down on this one. I did pretty good.
That's right.
Angie's in the background.
Yeah, there it is.
Yeah,
There
yeah.
it is. Yep.
But it's typical of the number of Pacifics that took the passenger trains through the Beverly complex.
Okay. And again, we're at the depot, August 8, 41.
Yeah, it all seem to be heading that way. This is an afternoon shot, and this is a 1393 Mogul. And I can't say the rods were down in this case, but Angie's was still in the background.
It sure was. And Rich, you really noted, you've got when the trains were retired, the engines, and when they were built, and all of the information appears on these.
I might say one thing, that the fantastic telegraph line and electric lines that you can always pick out Beverly Station. It seemed to have a menagerie of
cross arms.
Yeah.
That's right.
Okay, now we move into the war years, and train pictures as they have come down to us are few and far between compared to what we've been looking at, Rich, right? We have a few here that we're going to go through. First of which is at the depot, I believe, in about the year of 1942, Rich.
Yeah, this is coming into the station, headed for Boston, that's right. And I suspect the reason there aren't too many pictures taken during the war years is because, looking at people taking pictures at that time, you could be accused of sabotage or any other kind of illegal activity. So not too many people wanted to take a chance of having their camera confiscated by military police or civil defense personnel.
And the second reason is there weren't too many around to take the pictures.
Right, and film was harder to come by. Lots of reasons.
Had you joined up, Harold, at this time?
No, I was in, but I was on an inactive. I guess 42 I got into the active, but it was in the middle. Yeah.
All right, Rich. Another picture here, 1943.
And that's again taken from almost the same spot, but a little bit further into the depot. And it's interesting that you can see the taxi stand on the opposite side of the track under the canopy, which was there for many, many years.
That would have been run by Mr. Abe Sturman.
That's correct.
Yeah.
That's correct.
Okay.
Yep, that was 1943.
All right.
That looks like a Mogul.
It is. Yeah, I think it is.
Okay, now we're inbound at Montserrat Depot, and this is in the 1940s. We're not sure exactly what year.
This was a good shot that turned up relatively recently, within the last 2 or 3 years, and shows how deep the snow got back in the 40s. It seems it was a lot deeper than it is today. I mean, this has been a relatively unusually hard winter compared to what we've had the last few years, and yet if you look at this picture, the snow is almost up to the eaves on the roof here of Montserrat Depot. So.
True.
Things were pretty tough back in the 40s snow-wise.
We did get a lot back in those years.
I was trying to nail down this Pacific. It looks like 36, 37. I don't know whether.
Can't quite make it out. It could be.
You didn't really have to look at the photograph to.
With the glass.
Yeah, yeah.
Well, now we're up to the year of 1945. The war is either over or coming close to being over. We're at the Beverly Depot at Park Street, Rich.
And again, you like old automobiles, you see a whole bevy of them in this picture.
Isn't that great, huh?
Another thing that you have here is the old wooden open platform coaches, which the Boston and Maine insisted on using right up into the early 50s to haul commuters with. And I can remember riding in those, and they would creak and groan and twist, and you stepped out on the platform to get off, and you were right out there in the smoke and soot, and it was just like the Wild West. And these cars, for the most part, were built by the Laconia Car Company in Laconia, New Hampshire, around the turn of the century. And today there are still quite a few in existence, and many of them are down at Strasburg, Pennsylvania, on the Strasburg Railroad, which is a museum and tourist line in eastern Pennsylvania.
Yeah, I recall riding on these coaches, and I don't recall, Harold, they wouldn't allow you to go from one coach to the other while it was in motion, would they?
They frowned upon it, but I guess you could. They had little gates that they put up.
It seems to me I can recall stepping out to a tremendous gust of wind out there. And it was like, hold on for dear life.
Oh yeah.
Well, I think if you've ever ridden in the cab of a locomotive and you kind of get your sea leg.
Okay. All set with this one, Rick?
Yeah.
All right. Now, we're over the bridge at School Street, looking down onto the track, and we see an inbound train coming from Salem, 1946.
This was interesting because it's a different picture from most of what we've seen so far. Somebody had the forethought to stand on the School Street Bridge and look back toward the Beverly-Salem Bridge and catch number 3639 with a train coming through that deep rock cut there by the bridge. And there's something very interesting about that rock cut back in the 1839-40 period when the Eastern Railroad was building through from Boston. When they got to this ledge, it required an extensive amount of black powder to cut through here. And the story is told that one of the charges that was set was a little heavy, and a large boulder weighing about a ton or a ton and a half was catapulted high into the air and came down through somebody's roof and right through their front parlor. While the family was home, as a matter of fact. Fortunately, nobody was killed or injured, just by the grace of God. But you can imagine, you know, the surprise of having a ton and a half boulder drop through your roof.
Right, imagine. Now, we're looking from the bridge, we're looking toward Salem.
That's right.
Okay. And that rock formation looks pretty much as it today.
Oh, yeah.
That doesn't change.
That's the one thing that's constant.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Especially if it's granite.
Yep.
Okay, a nice picture here going over the trestle track at the Beverly-Salem Bridge, paralleling the bridge. Rich?
That's the only picture we've seen, and I think, Harold, I'm correct on that, of a locomotive, steam locomotive certainly, coming across Beverly-Salem Bridge.
I haven't seen any of those.
Nobody, for whatever reason, went down there and got a picture of steam coming across that bridge, and this was just something that turned up. It was no more than a snapshot. And you can see Goat Hill in the background, and it's just kind of a unique view of a train.
Almost
inbound.
a silhouette, isn't it?
Almost a silhouette.
It sure is.
Train inbound to Boston, right on the draw itself.
We call it Pleasant View, though, because sometimes I've heard the Goat Hill people don't like Goat Hill.
Well, in that case, this is a pleasant view.
Yeah. That looks like a mogul, just
It is.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay. And as we come down near the end of our collections here, Harold, we're back to one of your photographs.
This guy was heading inbound towards Boston, and this is one of the Atlantic type locomotives, ones with the big driving wheels, and I always could tell those starting up because once they got going, they'd skid. If there was any moisture on the track, or if it was raining or anything like that, they'd spin the wheels before they grabbed on again.
Whoa.
So they'd have to start very slowly. But once they got going, they go like a bat out of somewhere.
Would they stop in the same fashion by skidding a little bit?
Well, not so much, because I think the brake system controlled the thing. They get used to driving these things.
Right.
It's just they were touchy to get started.
Right. I don't know whether it's the angle at which you took this photograph, but you can just see power here. This is power built right into this machine here. Okay, and now this may be. Let's see. We're going to. Yeah, this will do it for our steam engines. This last photograph, and again, it's a Harold Boothroyd picture.
Yeah, this is over the Bass River siding, and they were waiting for something to probably go on the main line before they get out on. This looks like, you know, it could be the shoe train, but mostly the Americans come in to the shoe to pick up. This happens to be a mogul, but it's not saying they can't use that for the shoe train too.
Right.
But this is about 5 o'clock in the afternoon. This is in the Bass River siding, and it's heading towards the Beverly station.
Okay. Well, Rich, all good things always seem to come to an end, and the age of steam was shortly thereafter, the 40s, to disappear.
It really lasted sporadically up into the early 50s. The last actual steam locomotive used on the Boston Main was in August of 1956. and that particular run was in Marblehead to Salem, and that was the end of it. The last dozen or so steam locomotives went to scrap in September of 1956, all except two, which were kept in Boston for snow melting until 1958. And of course, what the person that was riding the trains every day saw was a transition from locomotive-drawn cars, either with steam or diesels, to the Budd self-propelled rail diesel cars, which we see in this next picture.
Okay.
Number 6141, taken at Beverly in 1958. And that came to typify Boston and Maine passenger service for the next 20-25 years.
And these were diesel-powered.
Oh, yes.
And we were talking, again, prior to the taping, at a great reduction of the workforce with
yes.
the transition.
Oh, absolutely. The entire cadre of service personnel that used to take care of, maintain, and repair and operate steam locomotives all went by the wayside with those engines.
Yeah.
Thousands and thousands of men lost their jobs nationwide as the steam trains changed to diesel.
Yeah. And yet, as we were talking, I've seen advertisements for the coming of the diesel engine as early as 1944.
Mm-hmm.
They were advertising it in the Beverly Times that the diesel was soon to be on the track and this would be the way to travel. But yet it never occurred, Rich, for 10 years.
You know, the war put it off.